Hey, good morning, everybody. Here we are again, using a different medium to communicate. But I am going to pick up from where we left off. We talked about the fact that we needed to continue and finish up with chapter 19. And what do we have in there? Maybe some of you already have taken a look at what is to come. And here is what is to come. We need to talk about some more. We have already spoken about them. Some of the connectives. And connectives, what is that? What the word comes from where it says connect, right? And, where's my marker? We need to connect elements. I thought that this was the word that will sound familiar to you as we talk about connecting elements, right? Connectives in general. And the connectors or connectives make us, definitely connect ideas in a more complex way. Okay, I want you to, if possible, take a look at page 405, where there is a wonderful table there where you could take a look at what we call these connectives. And you may realize that the first column, under the first column, you will see adverb clause words, and we have already worked with all of those, including the conditional ones. That's what at the end of this particular chapter, and we are in very good shape. Yes.
Walk back towards the board. Yeah.
And here, what we're going to get started with is, of course, with some of the transitions and some of the ones, the transitions, conjunctions, and prepositions. Those prepositions and transition words and conjunctions help us connect elements within sentences. And the first one that we have, that we're going to be talking about, are these ones that I have written here, because of, which I already introduced it to you, due to, and due to the fact that. Remember when we talked about, if we are talking about this one, because of, we know we already have studied the subordinate clause or the adverbial clause that says something like, for example, because the weather was bad, we didn't have a picnic. All right, and we also learned a few things about this, because we could say, because, let's see, because of the bad weather, right? Because of the bad weather, and this is another way of saying it, and you are very familiar with it, because of the bad weather. In this one, this is a different type of construction. It's not an adverbial clause, as you may see. And then we keep the exact same thing. Or we could say here, because of, and you learned last week that we could also say due to, basically having a meaning exactly the same. Due to the bad weather, we didn't have a picnic. And here we even have another possibility, which is due to the fact that, and when we say due to the fact that, we need to go back to the whole clause. Due to the fact that this is a little bit different. And here we're going, due to the fact that the weather was bad, we need to have the entire clause. The weather was bad. Okay. We didn't have a picnic. But here we go back to these. Due to the fact that the weather was bad. So this is, even though you may not be quite familiar with these constructions, they appear in the language. You may read different documents and they may have that. And they all mean exactly the same. As you may see, whether you use here, the adverb clause, or you choose just to use because of, or due to the fact that, you are basically saying the same thing. Not one is better than the other. And this is what we need to understand, okay? For example, I could say, due to my low salary, I cannot save any money. Okay, due to my low salary, I cannot save any money. And how else could I express that? Due to my low salary, I cannot save money. Okay, so I chose this one, due to, right? And how else could I say that? Because of my low salary, I cannot save money. Or I could go and I could say, because I have, and that's we're going to, what we already know how to do, we're going to be definitely having here cause, showing the cause, because I have a low salary, I cannot, and exactly the same thing, I cannot save money, right? Very good. I cannot save money. And I could also choose to say, due to the fact that, I have a low salary, I cannot save money. Okay, so we are in perfect agreement right there with what we could say here. That in essence is our choice to indicate how we connect the ideas. All right, now that is in terms of, this is what we call the use of prepositions, right? All right, now what we want to do next is to work with some others that also indicate cause and effect. We're talking about here, all what we're talking about is cause and effect. And of course, as you know, we are indicating the cause and effect. Don't ever forget that. We are here with cause and effect. All right. And we are going to, don't ever forget that. Now, we are going to take a look at some of those other, what we call transitions, okay? And what are some of those transitions that we have, okay? And we're going to be doing something that happened because something before had happened. All right, let's see. We're going to say, for example, I studied a lot. Okay, and then as a consequence of that, so cause and effect, right? This is cause and effect. I studied a lot, and then how could I connect here? I am going to use a word that is going to be a very common word to indicate these. Therefore, therefore, okay. We could use consequently, and of course you already know the coordinating conjunction. Which was the coordinating conjunction? You already know that one. We could use it with so, but we will remember that. All right, that would be considered, this is a coordinating conjunction. How are you? I am, yes. And so here we go. Let's give an example of what we are talking about. I studied a lot, and if we use therefore, we're going to take a look at all these connectives and these transitions, and we're going to make sure that we punctuate them perfectly well. What are we going to do? We're going to say, I studied a lot, and I can say, therefore, I passed erasing. All right. I passed all my classes. Okay. All right. And here, this connector in here, we could arrive before it, we have a period and a comma. But we could use another type of punctuation. Careful here. We could use a semicolon. And of course, if we use a semicolon, we do not capitalize. Oops. Therefore, and comma after, okay? So, all of these connectors could be exactly the same. I would suggest, and you really, of course, can choose consequently, comma, or we could use, here, a semicolon, consequently, okay, followed by a comma, okay? Now, if we use so, and though we do not use really, that would not be a transition word, because that is coordinating conjunction. We could express the same idea, though, using so. And what are we going to say? With so, it's different, right? Remember the punctuation for so is just, we're connecting two independent sentences. So we'll just go like that. No commas are necessary after so, all right? So this is what we have. I studied a lot, so that's a cause. And then the effect was that, hey, I passed all my classes. And that's why we call these ones transitions that indicate cause and effect. And there are many possibilities to use them. Of course, I could give you lots of examples. If I say, for example, or we could even express this same idea in another way, which would be using an adverb clause. For example, how could I say this? How could I give this same idea? Let's see. I'll tell you how. This is all of these possibilities just basically increase your really linguistic knowledge and what you really want to accomplish with the language, which is to combine things in so many different and possible ways. Here, how else could we say this? I could say here, because I studied. I studied a lot. I passed all my classes. Okay, so it's the same, another different way. But we have all of these nice little words that we encounter there, therefore, consequently, and so, that will give us, a lot of good stuff to, talk about. For example, I can say, Johnny cleaned his room very well. Therefore, he could go and play with his friends. Or I could say, consequently, he could go and play with his friends. Or if I decide to choose, one of these ones, coordinating conjunction, I can say, oh, Johnny cleaned his room very well, so he could go and play with his friends. Okay, so all of these, like I'm saying, all of these ways always would be indicating the same thing, which is the idea of cause or effect. Well, we connect with these ones, therefore, consequently, so, okay, it would be your choice. I want you to make sure that you pay attention to how we punctuate when this therefore starts a sentence, okay? And when it is connecting the two sentences without a period. So it could be semicolon followed by the comma. All right, so this therefore, sometimes, what could happen with that therefore, as we have it there? I could have this sentence and I could say, for example, I could put the therefore some, in the middle of the sentence or at the end of the sentence. But I kind of like to tell the students that if you don't feel comfortable maybe knowing where to put that therefore, just to keep it there at the beginning of the connection of the sentence. For example, I could say here, I studied a lot. I studied a lot. I, therefore, so that would be in the middle of the sentence. I therefore passed all my classes. Or, okay, and this is like an interruption in the flow of the thought. Or I could say, I passed, coming from the same punctuation, of course, I passed all my classes. Therefore. All right? Okay. All right. So, just whenever, if you use it in the middle of the sentence, of course, you have to set it up between commas. But if you use it at the end of the sentence, of course, you have to, make sure that it is a comma. It comes as an afterthought, okay? So that's a way you could use it, okay? Another one that we are going to be using, and that's, one of these ones, it's feel free to use, to exchange them. They could all be used to indicate exactly cause and effect, okay? And remember, when you're doing that, what you are really expressing. For example, if I say something like, We're gonna do another one. Maria didn't have enough sugar to make the apple pie. And then if I would complete that statement, therefore, what would that be? Therefore, we didn't have dessert for dinner. Okay. Or therefore, she couldn't bake it. Anything that will show us the effect of not having, of course, sugar to make the famous apple pie. All right? Okay. So now I want you to think about some of these examples. I will give you exercises to do. And well, we have to think about all of that. We basically, I wanted to make sure that we are going to also, and this would be basically probably the last little topic that we will work on, which is the use of the same to express cause and effect, but with some very interesting constructions. And we are going to do all of these ones, very carefully. They're very useful in the language, all right? And now we're going to do that. Let's see. We have right here, we are going to be, working with so that. Okay, I'm gonna put these higher, so we'll just keep it there because this so that is going to be with all sorts of things. Okay. And yeah, we can say, Susie is so, and we could say, we could use an adjective, and we're going to, let's see, use, for example, so what? Oh, Susie is so crazy. We're saying that. That is a cause. We're stating that she's so crazy that no one wants to be her friend. Oh, poor Susie, huh? All right, okay. So crazy. So what do we have here? An adjective. Now, we are going to have that expression with an adverb here. An adverb. For example, it says Peter, or is Eric. We're going to say that Eric. Eric. Eric drives. See, I'm using here an action verb, drives so fast. And remember, that is the adverb, okay? This is working as an adverb. This is an irregular adverb. Adjective and adverb are the same. So, but here we're describing the action of driving. So this is an adverb, just like this one was an adjective. Okay, drives so fast that. Look at this. So here we have so, so adverb plus that. And what would you say? Eric drives so fast that it is dangerous to ride with him. to ride with him? Yeah, I would not like to ride with him. And of course, this is an example. That's not to say that Eric, I know, probably drives quite well and is quite careful. All right. So, but we could use this one, see, with so followed by an adjective plus that. And here, so followed by another verb plus that. Okay. Now, we're going to use it in so many other, so many other forms that you will be a little bit maybe somewhat, in essence, if you have never seen this, then probably will get to think about, oh my goodness, what is all this about? Now, listen to this. My friends eat. And look at what I can say here. Eat so many, and many. When the minute that you see many, what do you know that we need to have? That we need to have a count noun. And we could say, so many nuts. So many nuts. So this is, of course, count noun here. So many nuts that they're never hungry. You know that nuts are very good. Okay, and we could also say, and here, so, what is it this? That would be a noun, right? A noun, it could be, it's a count noun, right? And we could say, my friends eat so much. Why much? The minute that I have this much, I know that I expect to have what kind of a noun? A non-count noun. So much fruit. That, we change the context, that their skin look very healthy. That their skin, yes, that they feel, we're gonna put that they feel very healthy. It could work with both, and we could say with so many, so much, or we could say so little, very much, little, so many, so much, so little, so, okay, if we say here, so few nuts, we could work with few, with many, so much, so little. And if we say they eat so little fruit that they don't feel healthy, of course we would need that they don't feel very healthy. And if we say so few nuts that they are always hungry. You know that nuts are very good because when we eat nuts, we feel, it gives us a lot of good stuff, fat and protein. And so we need to eat nuts. They're good for our brain, they're good for absolutely everything in our body. So we could have that. And here you have all the completion with all of these elements. And I'm not quite sure that many people, many students are aware of these. But that is a construction that is so very common. And it helps you emphasize a lot of what you want to say. Here we have, see, so many, so few. So we are emphasizing always the idea of what we want to, what we want to say. I could say, if you want to, if you're runners, for example, you have a friend who runs, and you may say, for example, something like, my friend, you could be indicating, and you could say, my friend, and you could say runs, and how are you going to complete that? My friend runs, and we could say so slowly that, very good, and use all of what this so emphasizes, and that there is right there an effect for that, okay? My friend runs so slowly that he always comes at the end. He's one of the last runners to get to the finish line, for example. And that is a very interesting example that we could say, we have these to indicate that cause and effect. And then we could have another one that is not with so that, but it is such a, or that. Let's see. How does this work? We could say, my friend is such a slow runner